If you aren't using data classes, you're probably wasting your time. And I didn't use them for a while because the projects I was on was also not using them when I was starting out as a developer. However, when data classes are used correctly, they can save quite a lot of time with implementations of objects and constructors in Python. And in this video, I'm going to be displaying the power of data classes in 3 simple steps. The first step is what are data classes. The second step is I'll share the benefit of data classes and what they're used in trying to fix. And then 3, a coding example. If you're new to the channel, I'm Eric Roby, a software engineer with over a decade of experience, and I've helped thousands of developers learn and grow within their craft. So go ahead and grab your coffee mug. I am going to be using my black dad mug today. See if it focuses. Boom. So let's start by talking about what data classes are. Well, data classes are simply a decorator in Python that was introduced in version 3.7. They automatically create special methods for Python, which means you have to type even less code. It significantly reduces boilerplate code needed for defining data-centric classes. So data classes are only used for data-centric classes. Now, there's 4 main problems that data classes solve, and that's boilerplate code, readability, customization of data structures, and immutable/mutable objects. And you can do that super simple in something like data classes. So where data classes really make sense. Imagine you're working on a software project for a construction company. The project involves managing the dimensions of various different construction materials. So there could be planks and bricks and sheets of metal, and each material has attributes like width, height, and sometimes even length. In the beginning, everything seems straightforward. You create a class that represents these materials and everything works fine. But as the project grows, you need to add even more attributes. So maybe we add in thickness, or some might have density. They can really go on forever. And I don't know if you're a big do-it-yourself person, and others may have density and so on. I don't know why I picked a construction company, as I am not a big do-it-yourself person. I'm like brand new to this stuff. I just hung a shelf for my wife in our closet, so I'm kind of on this like manly construction high right now. So bear with me as I just make up construction stuff. But anyway, all of these objects have a bunch of repetitiveness, and we could use like polymorphism and start with like material and break it down into like bricks, planks, sheets of metal, all that kind of stuff, but we're not. And we're going to say every time you add a new attribute, you add it to every object and you initialize the method, and we have to add everything by scratch. Therefore, if you do it this way, your Python objects become a maintenance nightmare. Then one of your colleagues says, hey, why don't you use Python data classes? And you start adding it and all your boilerplate code disappears and everyone loves you. But what it really will look like is all we need to do here is say from data class, import data class. We can add the annotation of data class on top of brick, plank, and metal sheet, and it automatically adds everything else, like the constructor. It automatically adds the underscore REPR method that allows you just to print the entire object. It does so much stuff automatically, so you don't have to type so much, especially like removing the constructors. We just think this is so much easier to read than, passing in a constructor and then saying self dot blah, 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 and creating objects that way. So if we really want to know everything, a data class comes with the initialization constructor that creates objects. It comes with a human readable string representation of the object. It comes with something called equality checks for the objects. It comes with comparison operators. It comes with hashes that make objects hashable if frozen is equal to true, which means it is a immutable object. And then it also comes with post init for custom logic after initialization. So it comes with a lot of stuff by hand automatically that you don't have to write. So let's dive into some code so we can see a data class in action. All right, so let's say we have this Python object where we import random. We have these items in stock, which is just going to be an empty list. We have this function, which is called generate ID. So if there's a whole bunch of items in a list, it just grabs the last item in the list, checks the ID, and increments 1 to it. So all of our objects will have an ID. We have a class item where we create a constructor and then we pass in the representation so we can see everything inside that object. And then we have this function that's just called generate items, which has a bunch of items, and then we add them to this items in stock list where we can generate the ID, add the item name, price, and all that fancy stuff. And then we can just create an item ourselves where we get the ID from the generate ID, we add a name screwdriver, and then we have a price of $10, and then we just print it. All right, so nothing super fancy going on in this Python project. But what we want to do here is implement data classes. So to start, we need to import data class. So we can go ahead and just say from data classes, import data class. And to make item a data class, all we have to do is say at data class. And just like that, it's a data class. And now what we can do is we can just delete all of this because it does all of this automatically. And we just need to say what items we want. So we can see that there's ID, name, price, and in stock. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. We can just say we want to delete all of that, and I'm going to do that for each one of these. And then we can just delete everything here. And now we know that ID is of type int, name is of type string, price is of type float, and in stock is of type Boolean, but we want it to always be true when the object is created. All right, awesome stuff. And now if we went ahead and we just created our object and we wanted to write our application, we can see that everything works automatically, just like that. And that's the end of the video. No. But this is pretty much how you use data classes. It just removed all of that boilerplate code and comes with all of those magic functions automatically. It just does it all behind the scenes to make sure that we just write less code and data class does it all for us. Now, the only thing, and now there's a few more things that we want to do here. The first one is right here. When we instantiate an object, we are saying ID equals generate ID. Now, that is just one more thing a user has to do when they create an item. And we don't want the user to have to worry about anything. So what we want to happen is for our data class to do that functionality for us automatically. So what we can do here is we can just say, hey, I want to delete this item right here. And then we also want to delete it right here because we're instantiating items twice. One when we generate items and then one when we create our own item. Now, what we need to do to make this work is we need to use something called field from data class. So up here, let's go ahead and just say we want to import field. And then here in the ID, we already know it's of type int. And now we want to say equals field. And inside here, we need to say initialize. So init equals false, which means we don't want to do it right here. We want it to pass the responsibilities onto something else. And then we want to use something called the default factory in data class. And that allows us to be able to call external functions while creating an object. So let's go ahead and say init equals false, and then default factory equals that generate ID functionality above. And now let's go ahead and run our application. Now we can see that everything works just the same. We are creating our generate ID. Perfect. Now, what if we wanted to add another field inside our data class called like similar items? So if you're looking up like a screwdriver, maybe similar items is like I don't even know, like a hammer and a nail. So what we could do here is we would want to create a new list called similar lists or similar items. And we want this to be of type list, and we want this to be a string of items. Now this will create an empty list when the object gets initialized. So if we come down here now and we say comma, and we want this to be similar items, and inside here we want to add hammer and nail. And we rerun our application. We can see that there is an error, and this is as expected. And that's because the non-default argument of similar items follows a default argument. What do you think that means? Well, up here, when we create this, we need to initialize this default factory as a list because right now we're instantiating a list object and then we're trying to add it in. we need to say that when this object is created, we want to start with an empty list. So we can say equals field, pass in our default factory, and we want this to be a list. So now let's try it and run our application. We can now work because we passed in this default factory equals to a list. We can see our object right here. Perfect. All right. Now there's one more thing we want to cover with data classes, as we can see that it's just kind of kicking butt and it's adding in so much functionality for us automatically. It's something called frozen. And what frozen means is right here, if we have our screwdriver and then we say, hey, actually we want this item dot name to now equal, what's another tool? I'm just going to say tool. If we go ahead and run this now, we can see that it says tool. But if we come up here and we say frozen equals true, and we rerun our application, we can see that we get an error when we try and change the name to tool, and that's because this object is now immutable. Frozen means you are now making the object immutable. It defaults as mutable as any other Python object. But if you say frozen equals true, it's now immutable, so you cannot just change values inside. So we'd have to remove that because the object is now frozen. Now, this is just the beginning of how powerful data classes are. And I hope you were able to learn something here because data classes are super, super powerful. And I will see you in the next video.